Hello viewers, welcome back to your YouTube channel English Only Zone. Today again I am here with another poem of ICSE board from class 9th English Literature. The name of the poem is The Cold Within. It is written by James Patrick Kinney. Kinney wrote this poem in 1960s in order to tell about the different types of discrimination people are facing all over the world. This poem is like a mirror to society, as it tells what prejudices we have among ourselves. This poem comments on the absence of humanity in the people. Let's study something about the poem. The poem describes the tragic death of a group of 6 who stand around a fire, each holding on grimly to a log of wood. So the poem opens with the tragic death of a group of 6 people who stand around a fire, who were sitting around a fire, and they were holding a log of wood. Although the fire was about to extinguish, but these people were having a log of wood with them, which they could have given to the dying fire to save it from dying. But as they faced some or the other discrimination, they did not give their wood to the dying fire. Allowing their selfishness, prejudice, malice, and suspicions to dictate their actions, they refused to share the log to fuel the dying fire and keep each other warm. So, allowing their selfishness, they had allowed their selfishness, prejudice, malice, and suspicions to dictate their actions. Because of these things, they were ruled with these things. Their actions were ruled by these things. They refused to share the log which they had in their hands to give to the dying fire and to keep each other warm. Although they themselves wanted to keep themselves warm, but they did not want the other person to be alive. They did not want the other person to keep himself warm. Eventually, the fire dies out, and in the morning, all 6 of them are found frozen to death, each clutching, even in death, a log that could have so easily saved their lives if only they had overcome the petty barriers of class, race, and religion that divided them. Eventually, finally, what happens? The fire dies out, and in the morning, all 6 of them were found frozen to death. They died because of cold. Because of the cold atmosphere. Each clutching means holding tightly. Even in death, in their dead bodies, the log of wood was still clutched tightly. A log that could have so easily saved their lives if only they had overcome the petty barriers. This log which they were holding, even after their death, they could have easily saved their lives. But only if they could have overcome the petty barriers. Petty means small barriers of class, race, and religion that divided them, and for that they had prejudices in their heart. Now, what is the message given in the poem? The poem is a simple yet powerful reminder that if we selfishly hold on to the world's resources and the wealth that it has to offer, if we persist in discriminating on grounds of race, religion, caste, gender, and ethnicity, we are all lost. So the poem states that although the poem is very simple, written in very simple English, very simple language, but it's a powerful reminder that if we keep on being selfish, if we keep our resources only to ourselves, and we do not think of sharing our things with others, or the wealth which we have, if we do not think of sharing it with others, if we keep on discriminating on the different grounds such as race, religion, caste, gender, ethnicity, then there is no one to save us. Even God can't save us. So we should be sharing. We should share our things with others in order to save ourselves and save others also. Let's read the first stanza of the poem. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. So the poem opens with a situation where there is an extinguishing fire kept in the center and 6 humans are sitting around it. Now, what is the meaning of happenstance? A situation which is pre-arranged. So there was some pre-arranged situation. For example, a fire was kept in the center and 6 humans rather, were sitting around it. Why the word humans is used here? To tell the species. Not people has been used, not persons has been used, but humans word has been used to tell the species. The species is highlighted here. So 6 humans, they were trapped, they were caught by some happenstance, which was a situation which was pre-arranged, and it was bleak and bitter cold. It was very, very cold. Each one possessed. Possessed means each one had a stick of wood, or so the story is told. And this is how the story is told. Let's come to the next stanza. Their dying fire in need of logs. The first one held hers back. For of the faces round the fire, she noticed one was black. Here she is there. She noticed that one face was black. Now, let's understand this stanza. Their dying fire. The fire was about to die. It was about to extinguish. It was in need of logs. The first one held hers back. Hers here represent that she was the lady. So, she held her log of wood back in her hand. She held her back. For of the faces round the fire, why she held her back? For here refers to because. Because among the faces which was sitting around the fire, she noticed that one was black. One person was black. So it means this person was a white lady, and she noticed that there was one black person, and instead of saving her life, she thought that this black person should not be saved. So she discriminated on the basis of color. We know that there was a lot of discrimination being done on black people by the white people, and same discrimination she followed here. I hope you have understood these two stanzas. Okay, then let's move on to the next stanza. The next man looking crossed the way saw not one of his church, and couldn't bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. So the next man who was looking across the way, he looked across the way. Here cross means across the way. He noticed that one person did not belong to his church. Here church means religion. One person did not belong to his religion. And so he could not bring himself to give. It means he could not make himself to give the fire his stick of wood. Here birch means a stick which is of birch tree, a wood which is from birch tree. So he could not allowed himself, he could not make himself to give the fire, to give his log of wood to the dying fire, because he did not want to save a person from another religion. So this person was made insensitive by religious intolerance. Now let's come to the next stanza. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? So the third person now. The first person was a white lady. Second one, he discriminated on the ground of religious intolerance. The third person, he was a poor person. He sat in tattered clothes. Tattered means torn clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Hitch means he tightened his coat. As he was wearing torn clothes, worn out clothes, so he tightened his clothes so that he could feel less cold. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? And then he thought that why should he give his log of wood to the dying fire to warm that person who is sitting idle, who is sitting lazily. He thought that rich people are lazy and they make poor people work for them, and they keep on sitting idle. They make poor people work for them, and they do not work hard. They exploit poor. So this poor person, he had this intolerance on the ground of economic status. He said that he should not give his log of wood to the dying fire to save this person who is rich, who doesn't do any work and who exploits the poor. Now let's move on to the next stanza. The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. Now the another stanza states about the rich man on for whom the poor person had not given the log of wood to the dying fire. This rich man, he just sat back, he just sat there and he thought of the wealth he had in store, of all the possessions he had, of all the wealth he had stored, he had gathered, and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. Shiftless means aimless. He thought that how to keep whatever he has earned, how to save it from this lazy person, this lazy, aimless person who doesn't do any work. The poor person also thought that rich people sit idle, and the rich men also thought that these poor are aimless. They do not have any aim in their life. They are lazy, and that's why they are poor. So this person also did not give his log of wood because of his greed, because of his selfishness, because of economic intolerance for the poor person. He just sat back and he thought whatever he has earned till now and how he can save that earned thing from this shiftless poor, from this aimless poor. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his sight, for all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. Now the black man's face, it spoke revenge. Bespoke here, it spoke revenge. Revenge of what? For whatever the white people have done with the black ones. All the discrimination. For all the discrimination, he thought that this was the right time to take revenge. As the fire passed from his sight, as the fire was just dying, it was extinguishing from his sight. For all he saw in his stick of wood, he saw that his stick of wood had a chance to spite. Spite means to hurt the white person. So he thought that today he has got chance and he is no less than white people, and today he has got the chance to hurt the white people also. Till now the white people have hurt black. Now it is his time that he should take revenge, and he should not give his log of wood to the dying fire to save that white woman who was sitting in front of him. Let's come to the next stanza. The last man of this forlorn group did not accept for gain. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. Now the last man of this forlorn means lonely group, did not accept for gain, did nothing except for gain. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. Now what this person was, he was an opportunist. He was an opportunist. He was a materialistic person. He gave something only to those people who have given something to him. Now, how many people had given something to him right now? None of the person in the group has given the log of wood to him now for to keep him warm. So he also did the same. He was also of the foolish thinking as the other ones. He did not take initiative of giving his log of wood to the dying fire to save the lives of others. So he did nothing except for gain. He only did what could help him in earning profit. He gave only to those who had given something to him. It means if nobody has given anything to him, he will also not give anything to anyone. And this was how he played the game of life. Here the game of life was played by him. Their logs held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. So their logs Now what happened? These all 6 people, they died, and even in their death, they were holding their logs of wood in their hand. They were tightly holding. And these logs of wood was a proof of human sin. Here logs of wood symbolizes human sin. The sins we have. S-I-N-S. Different types of sins we have in ourselves. Of prejudice, discrimination, hatred, selfish, greed, all types of sins which we have. These logs of wood were the proofs of the sins that these people, they agreed to die instead of removing the sins from their heart. So they didn't die from the cold without. They actually did not die from the cold which was outside in the surroundings, because the cold outside in the surroundings could have become bearable if these persons have given their logs of wood to the dying fire. But these people died from the cold within, the cold which they had in their hearts, the cold which they had inside their body, inside their hearts. These feelings, these discriminations, these prejudices made them die. These prejudices killed them. So they died of hatred and prejudices. So this was the explanation of the poetry. I hope you have understood. Now the rhyming scheme or the rhyming pattern of the poem is group, gain, gave, game. It means A, B, C and game. Hence, sin, without, within. A, B, C, B. So this is typically the rhyming scheme of the poetry, and there are different figures of speech used here, like in the first stanza only, in bleak and bitter cold, second line. Here B and B are repeating, so it is alliteration here. Then held hers back in the second stanza, second line. But the first one, held hers back, held and hers, H is being repeated here. So again it is alliteration. Then we have personification here. Personification means when we give some living attribute to some non-living thing. It is shown in the last stanza where in the first line it is written, their logs held tight in death's still hands. This is the figure of speech personification. Death's still hands. Death cannot have hands. But still, if we are saying, if we are giving some human attribute to some non-living thing, then it is personification. And then the another figure of speech is forlorn group. Forlorn means lonely and group means a collection of people. So when two opposite words are written together, we have oxymoron here. Okay? When two opposite words are written together, the figure of speech is oxymoron. So this is oxymoron here. So this was all in the poetry. I've told you the rhyming pattern. I've told you the figures of speech which we have in the poetry. And if you have liked the video, if you have liked the explanation, then please don't forget to click on the like button. Don't forget to subscribe the channel and share the video. English Only Zone. Thank you.